One of the hardest things about building a business isn't marketing or finding clients. It's actually sitting in this space where you feel torn between two things that you love, your business and your family. Now, let's face it, when you're working in your business, you're grinding hard and you're not with your kids and your family, you start to feel guilty. And when you're playing with your kids, maybe soaking up an afternoon, you can start to feel guilty that you're not working in the business and you're neglecting it as well. And that tension can be really, really difficult. And there's not a whole lot of advice out there on how to build a business when you already have a family and you already have kids. And for us, that was our reality. We started our business already married, already with children. So on today's episode of Beyond the Camera, we're going to share the things that we've learned to help us successfully build a business while making sure that our kids didn't begin to resent it or us in the process. This is going to be a good one. We can't wait to jump in.
So when we started our business, we started as parents, and that was really different for us because the people we had learned from and those in the industry that we looked up to so much, they didn't have kids at the time. So of all the things that we were learning and pulling from and applying into our own business, the major piece of wait, but shoot, we already have a family and all of this is going to look different for us. That came into play big time where we're we've got a different reality to figure out for ourselves to make this work because our top priority was our kids. We had both of our kids when we set out and built our business.
Our top priority and really the driving reason why we started in business in the first place was to spend more time together as a family. I mean, we kind of talked about that a little bit in the last episode on working together as a husband and wife in business. But we also touched on the fact that when you do that as a husband and wife, you've got the business baby and then you got your real life babies.
Yeah.
And that was another point of tension that we really felt was, okay, we've got this business that requires our time. It requires our attention. It requires us to cuddle it and feed it and kiss its boo-boos.
And play with it.
Play with it and be fully involved. And then we have these real life human children that similarly require our attention and our love and our support and to kiss their boo-boos and to play with them. And sitting in that tension, it felt like a lot in the early years.
Yeah.
Because we quickly fell into this pattern that I think a lot of people find themselves falling into is you've got kids and logically, cognitively, and you feel in your heart, these are the most important things, our kids, most important things to me in my life. I would never logically sacrifice them on the altar of business, but by our actions, we can really quickly kind of psych ourselves out and start to say, oh, I'll get to that later because I'm doing this for them. Oh, I'll get to them later because I'm doing this for them. They just need to understand. And I think one of the things that terrifies me the most is thinking that someday I'll look back and go, we built all this for you guys. And they'll be like, I never wanted any of that. I just wanted you.
Yeah.
And I think that tension is really what started to help us at one point begin to look at what we were doing in business, how we were doing things in business. I mean, we've told the listeners the stories that when we started, we had our kids with nannies and with Nana and Papa. When we were shooting weddings, more often than they were with us, it felt like. And that just wasn't going to cut it. But even after we shifted into working with brands, there's still if you want it to, your business can consume all of your time. That would be being a workaholic. There's a comedian. He talks about I've seen a lot of workaholics, but I ain't never seen no workahol. I think it's funny. Do you get it?
No.
Because it's okay, it's tangent, but this is going to be helpful. Alcoholic.
Okay.
So workaholic, but is there workahol? Chocoholic? Is there chocohol? Anyway, that's just a side. If you're watching and listening, you can take that with you and drop it on somebody. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
But, you can become a workaholic really quick. You can give yourself fully over to the business and you can have all of the greatest reasons behind it and all of the greatest true. I'm not even saying that they're fake or false reasons. They're real reasons. But you can do all of that and then look up one day and go, oh gosh, I missed the big picture on this. And that was one thing that we were resolved not to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like I said, we learned from people who did not have a family. But when we started our business, our kids were 5 and 2. So we weren't dealing with babies in a super early stage where they would nap all day. It's we had a 5-year-old and a toddler. And so with all of the amazing things that we had learned and we were applying and we were like, awesome, this is going to grow our business. That was a huge missing factor that we're like, we know we have to navigate this. We're going to have to chart our path and what that looks like because it's going to be so different from anything that we've learned. And there's so much that we picked up along the way, which is truly the heart of this episode, is hoping that it will be helpful to those listening that are growing a business, but they've already built a family. You didn't get it backwards. You didn't start having kids too soon. You didn't start your business too late. You started it and it just might look different from those that you've learned from. But if you're listening today to us, hopefully this can be helpful because with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, we set foot into building a business. And like you said, we were resolved to saying, our kids will be a part of this. We want it to be a family business to their capacity, to what they want to be involved in. Nothing forced, of course, but just making sure that they were a part of it to where we can get one day and they can be like, wow, mom and dad truly did build that business for all of us. We weren't just forgotten in the process and left to, kind of drift and follow the crazy flow that building a business brings.
And I think that's something that's really easy to believe. And honestly, I wrestled with feeling for a little bit at times of like, we missed it. We did this in the wrong order. We started a business too late. I even felt in seasons where it felt tough, like if only we would have done this X amount of years ago, where could we be today? How different could things look? But I think that's totally the wrong mindset.
Well,
right?
It's not realistic because we would have been different people. Having a family, growing a family, starting a family, having kids, it drastically changed who we were. So we wouldn't have even been building a business if we look back and think like before kids, we would have not been in that spot. So it's really not a fair question.
It's not even a real question.
It's completely fake. It's false.
It's a totally fake question and fake idea. And that's why I just want to spend a second on that because I did wrestle with that feeling and that thought.
Yeah.
But it's like, really, what does that boil down to then? You're really saying you'd rather the business over the kids. And it's like, well, never. I would never say that. Are you kidding me? I would never let that would never come out of my heart and out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what that question poses. It's also a question that automatically makes you view things as if, you're a victim to circumstances or you're a victim to what your reality is. And the true reality is like, there are people who start businesses every day that have different life circumstances. There are people in all walks of life, all ages, all demographics, all different backgrounds that start businesses every day. Does that mean things look a little bit different in how you build your business as a solopreneur or in our case, as a husband and wife team? Yes, it does. And that's what we're going to dive into today, the things that we found that have worked and been helpful. But that's all that is. It just means you get to figure out how to build your business around your life, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's actually an empowering thing to think about rather than a disempowering one. I get to build a business that helps the life I have and the life I want, the things that are most important to me, function. Not that I need to sacrifice the life I want or the things I have for the sake of a business.
And I mean, that's so good and it's so true. And I just hope that that's what you hear. No matter what point you're starting at, whatever you're building when it comes to a business, it has to revolve around your life circumstances because your life's not going to change whether you're married, if you're single, you're going to get married, if you have kids, if you don't have kids. So no matter what stage you find yourself in, if you're setting out to build a business, if you have one and you're growing it, it has to revolve around your lifestyle. Otherwise, it's really not going to flourish and grow because it's not going to work. So learn the concepts, learn the education that you do from those that you learn it from, but you cannot exactly model their situation and their circumstances because it's not yours. So it's not realistic to try to do that.
Yeah. So let's start talking about some of the things that we've done in our own journey to make this work with our kids. Because I do feel like for a season, we fought it a little bit and we wrestled with some of those things that we've already talked about. Like, oh, this would just be so much easier if, or gosh, if we could have just started this even with kids, but a few years earlier so they could be napping multiple times a day. Like, gosh, that would be so much easier. But none of that was our reality. So we had to begin to figure out, okay, how do we, if we're truly doing this for our family and for our kids, how do we truly do that and make this work in harmony together? Business, family, life, all together like it should be. And so I think one of the first things we recognized pretty early on was that the traditional kind of work-life balance, which I think is a farce anyway, the traditional work-life balance and what I grew up in, you grew up in, is like mom and dad go to work, kids go to school, Everybody comes home and it's family time.
Mhm.
And that's cool. That works. Weekends, family time. Now, all of a sudden, we're running a business from home. We're all together all day. There is none of that separation. There is no like, you go do your thing, we go do our thing, and then we come together. Family time. It's just like all time is this weird mix and blend of work and family and everything else. And so there weren't these like real clean lines drawn. But I think, at least with my corporate background, I tried to draw them. Like, I'm working. Like, this is work time. You need to figure out what to do for the next 8 hours, kind of thing. Like, not really, but almost through actions or expectation, silent expectation, would kind of treat it that way. But we figured out pretty early on, one of the best things we could do is actually bring our kids into the business and help them be involved in the ways that they could be, which has looked very different over the years as they've gotten older and in seasons when they were younger. But I think bringing them into the business with us instead of trying to separate parent life and business life was a really powerful shift that we made.
Yeah, well, and it brought us back to our why. And I think that's why establishing your why, a lot of people may be like, this is just a piece of the puzzle. But it really is the foundation of like, why are we doing this? And when our kids were at the center of our why, we're like, so then they can also be the center of our business, and it's going to change, and it's going to be based off of their desire. Like, do they want to help? Do they want to give input? Do they want to give advice? Do they want to come with us on shoots? And I think it changes because, like I said, they were 5 and 2 when we started. Now we have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. That just doesn't even compute. Not even going to try to go there because that hurts my head. But it's like their willingness, their desire to be a part of it has always changed and fluctuated. There were times where they're like, we don't care. Do what you got to be doing. We're playing Legos. Yeah. We're not in a season where it's like, hey, go do what you got to do. We're playing Legos. We're in a season where they're like, but we're hanging out. You're our friend. Like, we want to go do something. So we've just had to learn that our kids are the center of our business and how they contribute. It's like, that's how much buy-in they have. And if we were always willing and open to say, hey, like for an example, what color do you think we should use? We're deciding between this shade and this shade to get their input. They felt like they were contributing and it made them excited for what we were doing. And I think that's a super easy solution, especially for those with littles. It's like, which color do you like better? Yeah. Mommy's trying to decide between this one and that one. And when they get excited and they feel like, hey, I'm being asked a question, they want my advice. It's like, they care that much more, no matter how small or how big the task is. And that was a game changer for us when we're like, we can pull them in so many different areas, and they loved it.
Yeah. Well, and I think in a lot of times in life in general, when there's any potential for resentment or friction or, discontentment, any of those things, a lot of times what it boils down to is poor communication in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Like, someone's expectations weren't met, but those expectations were never communicated, or a change took place and the change was fine, but it was never communicated. So then it was taken in a poor way by someone else, just as examples, right? So similarly, when you bring the kids into the business, they get to understand at a deeper level what's taking place, what's involved, what's included. Now, what could be perceived by your kids as like, gosh, why do they have to do this now? I just wanted to play this game right this minute. And you're like, this is perfectly logical. Like, I have to take care of this, then I can get to that. From their little eyes and hearts with way less responsibilities and obligations than we have as adults, they're just like, but why? I don't understand. If you bring them into some of that, they begin to see how much is involved or all the different pieces, or they get to help make decisions. That buy-in is like, it's doing the communication for you. It's helping them understand. It's helping level some of their expectations to realize like, look, mom and dad, we're not ignoring you when we have to work. This is what we're doing. We've had our kids, as they've gotten older, come on shoots with us and be assistants.
Yep.
We've had our kids help pack boxes and client gifts and gifts for our retreats. We've had our kids actually come when we host events and deliver catering and meals. And it's been so cool to be able to see them have these different roles. Brody went through once when we switched to start using CloudSpot for our online gallery host. He went through and organized all of that for us. We lined him out on a task. We said, here's what we needed you to do. CloudSpot was awesome when we switched for our online gallery. Incredible company, great online gallery host. They ported all of our past galleries over into CloudSpot for us, but a lot of them didn't come over with thumbnails.
Yes.
And so we had him go through each gallery and pick a great horizontal image and apply it as a thumbnail so we get a quick visual reference for what the gallery was. I mean, there's always ways you can include your kids if you're looking for it. Does it require a little bit extra time from you? Yes. Does it require a little bit of explanation from you? Yes. Have there been times where I've done that and I've been like, sweet, this is going to buy me at least a half hour, and somehow they get it done in 5 minutes and I'm like, oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But think of what you gain with that. It was so much more than just buying me a few minutes of work time.
Right.
They're getting to know that they contributed. They're getting to know that they're a part of this. They're getting buy-in to this thing, and it becomes a little bit of a part of them. Something that they can take some ownership of in the process. That's a powerful thing.
Yeah. And to that point about Brody doing that stuff with us with CloudSpot, also, that just shows you CloudSpot's that good. Your 10-year-old can help you do the stuff. It's so simple to use, but that was exciting to him. And we even paid him a little bit.
Yep.
It was just like, mom and dad have a job for you. And that's the way that we posed it. Our kids love to earn money. They love to work hard. That's just something inside of both of them. So never have we made them do a job, but it's always been a question is like, hey, mom and dad have something to do in our business. Do you want an opportunity to work for us? Do you want an opportunity to help with what we have? And he jumped on that so quickly. And I remember I can just picture him sitting on that couch and just his little finger just dragging the thumbnails and making sure it all made sense. And he felt like he was contributing, but also it gave him a reason to understand what we do.
Right.
I mean, there were a lot of galleries he was picking fresh thumbnails for, and just all of that without talking, without having to lecture, without having to do a whole bunch of explaining. That part of the process was doing it for us. And he was understanding, look at all these people mom and dad serve. Look at all these pictures that they take. I understand a little bit more of what they do. It's exciting to us. And like I said, he got so excited. He's like, I'm working and I'm a part of this. I matter. They care. And they're giving me the opportunity to do it also.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
so sweet.
I think that another important thing as we've brought them into the business, not only having them share their ideas or feedback or, you know, which edit do you like the best? Which photo do you like the best? Or working in the business, but having open communication with them about things going on in business as well. Like, we do work from home. So even if we wanted to pretend like we could fully just shut this off, and we do our very best to, right? We do our best that when we're done working for the day, that gets turned off. But let's be real, we're human. Some of our best ideas pop up when we're not working because we're not thinking so intently and hard on it.
Always, yeah.
And so like those things happen, or seasons of business come along that are really frustrating. You know, something's not working the way we want, or we put a lot of time and energy into something and it didn't quite pan out, or we felt like we let somebody down, or, you know, we have a customer support issue. Whatever those things are, there are things that will come up that will affect you. And no matter how good you want to hide those things, your kids are going to feel it. They'll even just feel the energy shift in you. They'll feel that you're distracted and pulled away. I think the best thing to do is to communicate those things with your kids. And we've been really honest all on the way. When there have been seasons where we've known we have a big project and we really need to grind, we talk to them about that in advance. Like, hey guys, this is what we have in front of us. I want you to know you're going to see mom and dad, you know, working a little extra. You know, dad might be in the office a little bit later. Mom might be having to do some stuff on her phone. Just know that if we have to do that, it's only until this gets done and then that ends. Or just know that if I'm picking up my phone to do something, like, it's not that I'm just sitting there for my own entertainment. I'm doing something for work, but also trying to be with you at the same time, because this certain season requires it of us. Or something's gone wrong in the business and we're feeling that. We're human. Maybe that means we're a little less mentally present. Maybe that means we have more of a propensity to be a little short, right? Like, we found ourselves stopping and explaining to the kids, like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I was just short. It's not you. And actually everything's fine. Mom and dad are fine. Things in the business are just a little bit frustrating right now, and I'm really feeling that. And you know, just communicating those things with them is really helpful, because they're smart enough to understand. If they're smart enough to feel it, they're smart enough to understand.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is they can relate. And I think that's what we learned to do really quickly was like, hey, you know, when you start to feel overwhelmed, or if mom and dad need you to clean your room and then to do this and then to do that, and it can feel overwhelming. We also feel overwhelmed right now. Like, there's a lot of work and we're working on this project, or there's this course launch coming up. It just gave them an understanding of where we were at as their parents. And I think that was the danger in the very, very beginning for us, where we felt like, okay, here's business and work. Here's us as parents. There's this very strict divide. We got to be all in over here. Yeah. And that was the danger, because our kids care about us. And I think a lot of times it's easy to think, oh, well, they're just kids. They're little, they're young, and not consider the fact that we're their parents. In a kid's eyes, their parents are their heroes. And so, of course, they care if you're feeling anything, even if it's joy and excitement, like, hey, we just booked something. We're so excited about it. They want to know and they want to be able to care. And having that open communication, it really changed everything for us because it allowed us to feel free when it was time to work. Like, okay, they know, they understand.
Yeah.
And, like you said, to the phone or to being on the laptop, like, hey, I'm not distracted. I'm not, tuning you out. I'm not just scrolling aimlessly to fill my time. This is what work looks like for me. And I love that it can look this way because that means I'm home with you and we can still be together as a family. And that changed a lot for us and for them because everyone just had a very clear understanding.
Yeah, I think of two situations recently where that communication, I saw it play out in a really powerful way that impacted me. One was some stuff I was trying to figure out that I was really overwhelmed with. I was in the office late trying to figure things out, and it just felt like everything was falling apart. Nothing was working. Brody could tell I was frustrated. He came into the office and was just like, Dad, what's wrong? And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. It's just stuff with work feels overwhelming right now. I'm trying to make all this stuff work, and it's really not working. I'm just feeling really kind of low about it. And first of all, like, he came in to ask what's wrong, which was really sweet and shows he cares and shows he's invested, like we're talking about. But then he said, is there anything I can do to help? And there was nothing he could do to help.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he asked, I was like, man, like, I love that that's the thought. He's going, how do I help? Which shows he's got some level of buy-in in this.
Yeah.
Because he cared to ask, is there anything I can do to help? He could have just been like, well, all right, peace, But then also, we recently took this trip as a family for about a week. We were gone and on the road, and we were still working. It just looked like work was both of us staying up a little bit later in the hotel room, getting some work done in the evening hours, because during the day we were doing stuff with our kids, putting our kids first. I remember after that week, as we had taken Brody to a baseball camp, he gave us a card, and inside he even said, thank you for staying up late and working long nights to make this happen. And it's like, that's the stuff that if you don't communicate and bring them into the business, that could be perceived in a totally different way. Like, think about that for a second. And to you watching and listening, think about that. You could have a kid that sees, oh, we took this week-long family trip together. Dad just can't ever shut it off. He's always working. We're on this family trip for a week, and he's still in the hotel room, just working late into the night. Gosh, I hate this stupid business of theirs. That's one way it could be taken. Or because we've brought them in, because they understand what it takes to run the business, because they understand that, like, we're active in what we do. Instead, he sees, Dad's still working the business tonight, and he put me first all day, though. And like, wow, I'm thankful for that. That's what we're talking about when we say building a business that your kids don't resent. And I think that communication is a big part of bringing them in so that they can have a really clear context of what's taking place and why you're making the decisions that you're making.
Yeah. Well, that card you brought up, that's enough to get the waterworks going for me. So I'm not gonna stop there on that card because it made me cry. It makes me cry every time I think about it. But that was fruit that I saw come as a result of what we did when he was 5, or maybe it was closer to 6, because it took us a little bit to wrap our heads around like bringing them in. But it was so rewarding because we're like, that's the fruit we're wanting. And so it makes me hopeful for when he's 25 to get something along the same lines of just recognizing. And that only comes from that open communication. And you're not too late if you haven't taken that approach before. You start it now. And communication with everything is key, whether it's with your clients or with your spouse or with your friends, also with your kids when it comes to your business. And they appreciate you for it, whether they say it or not in that moment. It's not like, okay, cool, thank you for the rundown of the day. But it's like later on when we're struggling or whatever, it's like, hey, is there anything I can do to help? That's because they know.
Yep.
They've said the same to me when they can sense that I've been stressed. And it's like, can I help? Can I do anything? It's like, awesome. Thank you for asking. I love that you want to help. The best thing you can do is just understand right now that I'm not upset at you. I'm not upset with Dad. It's just the work frustrations. Like with any job, things can just feel frustrating. So you understanding that is so helpful. Yeah. And then, that can go further of like, so if you can just pick up your room and take care of that without me wondering if it got done or not. Yeah. It's just, it gives them a bigger picture into it. And it's different at every season. It has been. I mean, Brody wasn't 5 coming in, tapping on your shoulder saying, hey, Dad, anything I can do? Sorry, you're frustrated. it'll continue to be different and look different and change. It's one of the most beautiful things to have that. And I would say one of the things I'm the most proud of in building a business is seeing that our kids can notice, like, they matter, they care. And I'm thinking back to when they were little, and it's like we had stuff to do and we didn't necessarily want them to leave the house or want them to be with a babysitter. It was like, hey, kids, get in the car.
Yeah.
We're going to the store and you get to pick out a toy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. A $45 Lego set box is cheaper than any babysitter you can bring over.
There was a lot of seasons where we did that a lot.
They got lots of
They
Legos.
got toys. It was a special trip to Target.
Yeah.
Pick out a Lego, pick out this. And not to bribe them, but just
No.
because we knew we've got this in front of us today.
Yes.
It has to happen today.
Yeah.
And there's two ways to go about this. First way is we can all be frustrated with each other all day. The kids can constantly tap on our shoulders and we can all be grumpy and everybody can think this is the worst day ever. I guess there's three ways. Two, we can get a nanny or babysitter and that's just going to cost a ton and wow. Or three, we can go to Target. They can have the fun of us starting the day, going to Target together,
Yep.
walking them to the toy aisle and saying, go pick one out.
Yep.
And then bringing it home and getting to play with that thing. And boom, there's the handful of hours that we needed to get things done. And at the end of the day, we get what we need to done. We feel great. They got to play with a new toy and had mom and dad take them to get a new toy to start their day. They feel great. And we're all together for family time. And it's like, it's a win all the way around. So when you need to pull that one out of your back pocket, that's a good card to pull.
Yeah. Well, and again, communicating. It's like, we're not buying this, so you have to go sit in your room and be by yourself. We're buying this because we're going to go work hard on something. And we want you to also have something to work on or to have fun with or to play with, because this is how it gets to be. You get to work on your Lego set, or you get to work on your craft or your art or whatever. And when they're young and they're little like that, it really is that easy. And I say easy again because that's a super simple and inexpensive solution. It could be the dollar store.
Yeah.
Kids love to fill a basket of 5 things at the dollar store. Like, that's so exciting to them. And it made it very doable. And it just was like, okay, we can do this because our kids matter first. And they're here with us. So let's make it happen.
As a business owner with kids, you chose to start the business. The kids didn't choose that.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like, this is what's happening. And bringing them in, like we're talking about, into this process, whether that's giving their feedback or working with you or finding ways to keep them entertained, that keep them engaged, like all these things are great and help through ultimately what boils down to the sacrifices that they have to make as kids of 2 entrepreneurs who run a business from home. These are all great things we've talked about so far, but these are all to help kind of navigate the sacrifices that they're also making. And I think we have to keep that in mind. Like, yeah, we're making sacrifices, sometimes late nights so that we can work while they're asleep rather than cutting into family time, or things moving a little slower than we'd like, or what have you, right? So we're making sacrifices, sure, but they're making sacrifices and they never signed up for that. Like they didn't get to choose that. We chose it. And so I think just as important as some of these ideas we've talked about to help kind of mitigate some of that sacrifice that they're making is also to let them share in the wins.
Yeah.
And to celebrate big as we celebrate big. I mean, if they're going to be making sacrifices for this thing to work along the way too, then they also need to share in the celebration. And I think that's one thing with bringing them into the business. That's been our favorite part for sure, has been to explain to them, hey, you know how mom and dad have been really busy the last few weeks working on this? Guess what? We got it done. And this is what happened. And to celebrate, we're going to go do this.
Right.
You know, we're going to go get a fancy lunch or we're going to go to a movie or whatever the thing is. Gosh, that helps them, again, not resent this thing, but go like, ooh, there's payoff in me sacrificing for this too.
Well, and anybody gets excited with a reward on the line. I mean, anybody. If you're running a marathon, you know what break you're headed for, and you can't wait for whatever drink or, kind of relief is going to be there. So that was important to say, like, hey, if it wasn't within a day, like, hey, at 3:00, we're going to be done and then we're going to play Monopoly. That was a win. And they got to celebrate in it with us. They got to know mom and dad put in the hard work. I put in the hard work of honoring and giving them space. And now we all get to play. Giving them those things to look forward to helped have their participation within the day-to-day things. But I'm smiling and laughing so much because it makes me think of our course launches. And when we would say to Bro and Pays, like, hey, just, understand it's getting close to a course launch time. Brody instantly associated that with after every class we would teach, we would go get lunch somewhere. And it wasn't necessarily the biggest of the bad, but he just knew we were going to leave the house and go get lunch.
Yep.
So the week prior, the 2 weeks, whatever it was, if we said, hey, we're gearing up for our next course launch, he's like, does this mean we're going out to eat after the class? And it's just like, he got so ingrained in him is like, we got something to celebrate.
Yeah.
And that meant while we were teaching, if he wasn't at a friend's house or with my mom and dad, he knew like, cool, I'm going to be in my room playing. I'm going to be in my room reading, whatever the case is. But the reward is we're all going to go celebrate. Yeah. That was so helpful for us as a family, and it made it exciting for them, whether it was the short wins in the day-to-day or the big ones. If we had a project at hand, it was like, I can't wait for the win and for the celebration that I know is coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this just popped into my mind, but in bringing your kids to work like with you as well,
I know
now
what
that you're going down memory lane, this was incredible. It can have other benefits too, because there's certain things that as an adult, you can't quite say.
Or you
could say, but it would be
enough.
received in a completely different way that a kid can say. And it's just like, oh, that was cute. And we were on a shoot and we had Brody assisting us at this shoot.
And for reference, he was probably 11.
Probably 11 years
10
old.
10 or 11.
And we told him like, hey, bud, we need somebody to come help me carry gear and do this different stuff. And we paid him.
Yep.
Paid him for the day. Just like, during course launches, like you were just talking about, we've paid the kids too. Like, we're going to be teaching classes for the next 2 hours. We're going to pay you guys. You need to like be self-sufficient in your room. Like, it was a job for them.
You got to read. You got to do
family
this.
business here.
Yeah.
So we're on this shoot. Brody's helping. And we had told him I think he was a little young still at that point to be on the shoot with us, but he did great. He did an awesome job.
Yeah.
But I did constantly have this little like tap, tap, tap. Dad, how much longer?
Are we done yet?
Dad, how much longer? What time does this go to? How much longer is this? And he had in his head the end time of that shoot because he was like, I am not really loving this today.
Yep.
And I think it was like let's call it 2:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. And it was like 1:45. And we're talking with our client about this other idea to shoot. And he just speaks up out of nowhere and goes, hey guys, just we've got about 15 minutes left is all we've got. So the shoot wraps at 2. And I remember you and I just looked at each other like, whoa.
I froze. I'm like, he did not just say, oh my gosh, go Brody. I was like, you got it, bud. You're right.
Because we
only
do
have
prompt our
15
clients
minutes.
during the shoot. We help them understand the time. And but on this shoot in particular, there were a lot of ideas coming up last minute. And you and I in real time were kind of trying to figure out how to navigate that. And how to serve our client the very best we could while also helping set expectations. And so I think we were kind of in the mode of like, okay, we'll go a little over, but this is going to be a compromise. We're going to meet in the middle. Like we'll do some of these ideas, but there's going to be some we don't. And let's kind of guide them into that delicately and slowly. And Brody just like, hey guys, we got 15 minutes. Sounds like a bunch of great ideas. We got 15 minutes left and I'm out of here. So what are we doing? It was so great.
It was perfect. And I love it because looking at it, it's like he did absolutely nothing wrong. Honestly, he did what more of us need to do at our shoots to be like, all right, clients, this has been a blast. Just want to let everybody know we got 15 minutes left and then we're wrapping this up. We're done. It's all you paid me for. I'm out of here. There was nothing wrong with it, of course, but there are so many things that we can leverage our kids for if they're willing, if they're invested, if they're interested, help with our business. Blurting out the time, I don't know. That's for you to decide if that works or not. I don't hate it. It worked really well that day. It's fun to allow them the feeling that they belong because they do when they're our purpose and our why for creating freedom and flexibility to have with our kids.
Yeah. So bringing them into the business, all aspects of the business, whether that's helping you work, whether that's just communication, whether that's celebrating big, bringing them into the business, it was one of the key shifts that we made. There wasn't this separation. It was like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But I do think there are seasons and times in business where we need the space and dedicated work time. Like, we've got to go into that mode where it's like, okay, this needs to get done.
Yeah.
This needs to happen. We need to go build this thing. And we've done a pretty good job, you and I together, and we talked about this again in the last episode on how we work together as husband and wife, really dividing up our roles in the business. So more often than not for us, what that means is it's one of the two of us that have this like, okay, I need to go into the dungeon and go build this thing. And when those seasons come and we have those times where that needs to happen, I think that really helping create healthy boundaries and an understanding, almost the idea that we've come down to is kind of just pretending like we're going off to work for the day, because that's what we really are doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are days where you're at the table doing homeschool with the kids, and I've gone and got myself ready. And then I walk by and make a coffee, and I'm like, give y'all a kiss. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm headed off to work. Pray it's a quick commute today.
Pray for no traffic.
Yeah, pray for no traffic and a safe drive. And then I just walk by you into the office and shut the door. But really helping them understand that, like, hey, when we do need to get some stuff done, and one of us is filling that role, and if you're a solopreneur and you run the whole business yourself, when you have that dedicated work time, it's like, this is when I have help, or this is when my spouse is like, hey, I've got the kids for a little bit, you go work, or it's quiet time for them, and that's what's built into your day, whatever that looks like. It's like having that boundary in place to help them understand this is the time I need and I need it to be respected is really helpful and important. Again, it comes back to communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and because kids love boundaries, they love to know what kind of guardrails to be within, because they inherently want to do it right. They want to know that they're learning to succeed in whatever it is. And so giving them those expectations like, hey, once mom goes in and I close the door, that means no knocking on it unless it's an emergency.
We say unless the house is on fire,
someone's bleeding,
or someone's bleeding
a lot,
like a lot. Yeah. Not a paper cut.
not a gut.
Like
Yeah.
a limb's missing. Don't knock on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's reality. You got to finish the gallery. You got to edit it. You got to communicate with your clients and not be interrupted every other thought. But you can only truly get that kind of time and space if you take the time to pause and communicate, be open, and just set expectations. Yeah. And there's a lot that goes into that with explaining, letting them know what the expectations are, but setting them up for success and giving them goals as well. Because again, it's a family affair. When you have kids and you're building a business, it's like, if mom's got to go in and edit or go in and create content, I need you to do your reading, or I need you to pick up your bedroom. Charts are huge for us. We use charts all the time. To-do lists or check off lists. Who doesn't love to check a box?
It's rubbed off.
A
you know,
list?
Paisley's now making her own monthly calendars.
Yes. And every time there's something to pack for, something to prepare for, they both have their list with the checkbox because they love to check it off and know that, like, cool, I'm getting closer to this being complete. But when we're working, it's like they know they're getting closer to their goals because we set them up for that in advance. And that's super helpful. And I think you can do that with your kids at any age, whether they're toddlers or just young kiddos, or they're getting older. It's like you can still apply that same type of expectations and goal setting for them. That way they're set up for success while, you know, we really do as business owners have to put our heads down and focus and get our work done without interruptions.
Yeah, I think communicating the timeline of what that might look like is really helpful. So they know, like, hey, for the next hour, I need to go do this. That gives them a goalpost. Now, you need to stay true to that word.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get to the hour mark and be like, oh, you know what? This is going to be more like an hour and a half. That'll like wreck and devastate.
Yeah.
Like, give them a realistic timeline. Stay true to that. Have integrity. And let them know what gets to happen once that timeline's met too. Like, once I get this done, then we'll move on to this. Like, that helps kids understand, okay, this is what we're doing now. And then, you know, to your point, like, they thrive with boundaries. Okay, we're doing this from this time to this time. Then after that, we do this. Great. I can work with that. I think it's the unknown. And is mom just going to sit there forever? Am I going to get her back? How long is this going to last? When do I get to do this?
Yeah.
Those are all the things running through their heads that, you know, they're not considering all the things that are on your list. They're not thinking of that. They shouldn't be. They're kids. But those are the questions running through their heads that, you know, if you don't address those things and communicate about them, they're just left to wonder and get frustrated about.
But the truth is, if you go through that time of explaining expectations, how much time you need, and then that time comes and you're not done, in their eyes, it's like they've failed me. I did my part. And I had something I was looking forward to. I was patient for mom to get finished, or I was patient for when dad said he'd be done. And we have had times where we look at each other, we're like, I don't care that it's not done. We are done because...
Let's be honest.
What?
More often than not, you're coming to me and saying, John, I don't care that it's not done. We told our kids this. Turn it off. Yeah. Because I'm the one who drinks a lot of workahol, apparently.
There it is. You used your own workahol, but I get it now. I don't know why. All this time later, I'm like, okay, I understand it. We actually, Heidi, at our fall retreat, she spoke on power promises with exercising and just the little things that you commit to yourself in a day. But if you think about it, mom's going to be done in an hour, that's a power promise to your kids.
Mhm.
And if you aren't done at that time and they've remembered it or they've mustered up okay, I can focus this long, I can respect mom's boundaries that long, I can give her the space, and then you don't stop, like that's going to wreck them and create enough reasons over time if that is a constant thing where it's like, ew,
I resent this thing.
I hate this.
Yep. Or just not to believe you next time. Like, well, sure. Okay. Yeah, mom.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
Which then just puts a sour taste in their mouths for the business specifically, or it could be in business in general. And if your kids have an entrepreneurial spirit like ours do, it's like we want to set them up for showing them how business is hard. Growing a business is a lot of work, but it's also beautiful and something that if they have the desire for it, we want them to see how it can be done well.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't talked to yet, but I think back to bringing them into the business, like that's another long-term benefit that we're already seeing pay off in our kids. I mean, Brody, since he was 12, he's 15 now. Since he was 12, he's run a lawn mowing business on his own. And people just like their jaws hit the floor like, what? You do what with your spare time? And most kids are playing video games. He's like, yeah, I'm mowing lawns. It's been so cool to watch him engage with adults and mow lawns and handle invoices and learn how to manage his money and how to save and how to give and how to spend and then to be able to buy the things he wanted to buy. And some of the stuff I'm just like, dang, dude, like you got a mini fridge in your room with a stock full of Olippops. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, man, I wish I had that when I was a kid, but I was like, I wasn't working like that when I was a kid. I wasn't doing that. And it's not because we're cracking the whip saying go work. It's because he wants to.
Yeah.
He's seen hard work pays off. If I go and I do this for myself, it's going to pay off. Paisley's doing the same things. She's been actually tapping us on the shoulder all day. She made all these bracelets and wants to go do a bracelet sale. Like they've got that entrepreneurial spirit because they've seen it modeled in us.
Yeah.
And my hope and my prayer is that they've seen the good of it modeled in us.
Right.
And that it's attractive enough that that's what they want to do.
Which is why those little commitments and those little power promises are so important to hold to, because otherwise we would just create something that ultimately they'd be like, well, I don't want anything to do with that.
Or create a bunch of kids that are trained to be workaholics.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm saying I fight.
Yeah.
Is that going to be what I pass on to them? Is that going to be what I model for them? Is like, shut your family out, ignore your kids, and just work all the time? Not only are they going to resent the business we have, probably resent entrepreneurship for themselves, but like that trait will follow them anywhere that they go. Doesn't matter if they're working for somebody else. You can still be a workaholic. That's the last thing I want them to pick up on and receive. Setting those boundaries, having the clear, like, okay, I'm headed off to work now. I need to respect this time. Make that power promise. Give them something to do. Right now, while we're recording this episode, we gave Paisley something to do. There's a chore that she needed to do in the house. And we're like, hey, this would be a perfect time for you to go do this.
And her reading for the day. So it's like, okay, within our timeline of recording this episode, you can get your entire reading amount done today. And you can also take care of what we asked you to do to help around the house. And I gave her a hug before we came in. I said, hey, while I go push through and I go do the work I need to do, you push through and you stay focused on the responsibilities that you have too.
Yep.
Because again, it's a group effort. It takes teamwork. And we talk about that all the time.
For sure. That's one of the other things we really wanted to speak on today is just understanding, it takes teamwork because that's the season of life we're in.
Yes.
Like we said at the beginning of this, like we didn't start business as newlyweds with all the time in the world. It's like our story isn't like, well, we got married and instead of just like going out and playing Topgolf with friends till 1 o'clock in the morning, we built a business. Like, no, we got married. I had a whole career in corporate. We were doing the traditional climb the ladder thing. And then we're like, let's do this for ourselves after we had kids. And there's a certain empowerment that comes to you as an entrepreneur when you stop fighting the season you're in and you just begin to accept the season you're in and understand this is the season I'm in. This is what it needs to look like and come to peace with that.
Yeah.
And then figure out how you're going to navigate the different pieces.
Embrace it because it's like you don't want to despise it. It's like it's something you've prayed for. It's something you've hoped for. It's something you've dreamt of since you were littles, having a family or, getting to be a parent and finding the way that it works. It's the most rewarding thing. I loved being on a week road trip. I think that's the other important thing is constantly pausing for perspective moments of like, this road trip, guys, it's only possible because mom and dad said yes and stepped out and built a business all these years ago. And because we've worked hard and because you guys have supported us when it was a busy season or whatever, constantly just quick little perspective things that they're able to comprehend to help show them that like this is possible because of what we all do to give and to support to us building a business.
Yeah. And you know, I meant to mention that earlier, talking about celebrating. I think that was such a great piece of advice given to me by a pastor of ours. He said that he had learned that, as a pastor, super busy. People are calling him all the time with problems and all this stuff. And that can, just like entrepreneurship, like pull you away from your family very easily and require a lot of you, require everybody to sacrifice. And he's like, I learned that when we got the moments to go on the family trip and we got the moments to go do this, to just pause and say, hey, before we go experience this awesome thing together, I just want to reflect real quick and remind us all that this is only possible because we do this together as a family. And that was such a good reminder for me. And to your point, like in those moments when we get to make the trips for birthdays, or when we get to bring the kids to Disney World, to pause and just say, hey guys, this is possible because we all participate in this business together. You guys sacrifice time and some of our attention at times. You guys are patient. You wait for us. You guys encourage us. We work hard in the business and do this and that. And that's why this is possible. Like, again, that's communicating the life-giving side of having your own business, which isn't something they're going to resent. Are you kidding me? They're not going to resent that. They're going to be excited about that.
Yeah.
But I think you got to accept that, if you start a business, and no matter what season of life you're in, but when you start a business and you've got kids, it is harder. Like, it's harder. It's more difficult. It's going to require more of you. You can't selfishly just grind until 2:00 in the morning. You can't stay up till 3:00 in the morning, editing photos all night long and then sleep until 10:00. That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I think just accepting that reality first is really empowering, just to help you know, like, cool, those circumstances aren't changing. It is going to be harder. Let that empower you. Like, don't let that pull away from you. Like, oh, I just can't do this. It's like, no, okay, this is my reality. This is great. Now that I know what my reality is, how do I use that time in the most efficient way possible to do the most I can for my business while still honoring my family? And I think that comes back to the point of, like, you make that power promise of, hey, mom's going to work for the next hour. You got to have integrity not to sit and just scroll away half an hour of that time and then look up and go, oh crap, I got a half hour left. Let me just ask little Susie for another extra half hour. Like, you see how quickly this spirals and really snowballs and creates a negative attitude towards the business rather than an empowering one. I think you've really got to figure out, how do you use your time well? And that's avoiding distraction, of course, but also really being realistic about what's going to get done in that day. More often than not, I come to you with a list of things I'd like to accomplish in the day, and then you level me out and you're like, and so when are we going to have time for this? I'm like, oh, yeah. And what about doing this with our kids? Yeah. And what about this thing that you promised Brody? Yeah. It's like, okay, I guess a few of those things need to come off that list for today.
Well, and we have to give ourselves the credit. We are creatives. We come up with ideas. There's so many things that we're ambitious about and that we're like, oh, we could do this, or oh my gosh, like I saw this kind of content take off. I want to take my stab at it. There's so many things that are constantly circulating. And so that's not a negative, but it's just learning to be realistic with the 24 hours that we are confined to in a day. What can literally be done? Remembering we have to sleep. It's like remembering we have to take care of ourselves in that process. And so it's not to shame yourself or to feel bad or to feel guilty that you're constantly just like stewing on new ideas, but you have to be realistic with where you're at and remind yourself, okay, there's only so much I can do in one day, and I get 5 days this week. So I've got plenty of time to spread it out and to make it all, feel balanced for my family.
Yeah. I think for us, figuring out how to utilize that time well also meant figuring out how to maximize the family time too, right? Great resource. Actually, this made a huge impact on us, was At Your Best. Incredible book on using the work time you have to its fullest. Basically, the whole big idea of the book is it's like using a stoplight, like a traffic light, red light, yellow light, green light. Green light is your most productive, like your brain's firing on all cylinders. You're the most creative. You're the best at problem solving. Yellow is like, I can do this and it doesn't really affect me either way. It's just like, it's just a task. It's got to get done. I really don't have to think about it. Red is like, I'm done. I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. I cannot compute, right? Yeah. So the thesis of the book is everybody's different, but you're wired with certain parts of your day are your green light time, certain parts are yellow light time, certain parts are red light time. And there are things you can do during the day. Like if I'm in a red light time and I do something that really lights me up, it can move me back into like a yellow light time where I'm just like a little more energized, right? And so I read through this book, I evaluate my day, and what I realized really quickly was like I was putting stuff that actually I should be doing in my red light zone at my green light time. Like I was wired for 10 to 11 a.m. being like the time where it's like, my brain's just exploding. I'm super productive. I can just be a machine,
right,
and get stuff done. And that's when I was spending working out and checking emails. Like that's not productive. Like that's not getting anything new solved. That's not solving problems. That's not moving the business forward. So great resource. And we'll link to it in the show notes. That book, At Your Best, really helped us restructure our days so that we knew we were putting the different things that needed to get done for that day, the different goals we had in the appropriate time slots for when we'd be at our best.
Right.
We're doing this at a time of day where we're at our best because we need to be to have these conversations. I'll take care of checking emails and stuff later this afternoon when I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm tired. It's fine. I can do that. I don't have to be turned on for anybody, right? So great resource and really, really helpful with the work side of things. But then with the family side of things, it's like you have to honor that equally, if not more so. Okay, while I'm in the office getting this hour of work done, I'm not going to be scrolling the gram and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm going to have integrity there. You got to have that integrity with family too. And one thing that we've tried to do is like having phones off and away, not using that time to sit and scroll, not using that time to be with them, but checked out. And that's a constant battle that we have to fight. That's a constant thing we have to both hold each other accountable to. You just told me the other day, like, hey, do you realize that you asked a question to Brody and then immediately picked up your phone while he was answering you and started looking at something else? And I was like, I didn't even realize I did that. So that's a constant thing you got to fight.
Well, and it's just because of that small compromise to have your phone with you on the couch.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like to be that intentional, because we are with our business. I mean, as business owners, we got to make money. And if we want to make money, we have to be intentional with how we're growing our business, which is why you invest in all sorts of things to make that happen. But you also want to be an amazing parent, and you want your kids to want to have a relationship with you and to want to love your business and to want to support you as a business owner and to cheer you on and support you. You also really have to be intentional with your kids. And John's pulling out examples for himself. There's plenty for myself as well. But that's why we always go back to it. It's because we compromised. We compromised on the fact that our phone was next to us on the couch.
Yep.
It's not next to us. When we tell our kids at 3:00, Dad's done in the office, our phones are out of sight, out of mind, if not on do not disturb, or in my head, I'm not answering it. Like, I'm just going to ignore it if I hear it go off because I need it for certain people. And that's just within that super tight people around me. They always, can call or have access. But you have to give fully to your kids when it's time for them, because they can feel if you're distracted and distant. And that comes from having those guidelines, however that works. Some people put phones in drawers or in boxes, and it's like they keep them literally out of sight, out of mind. We've even talked recently about having work phones, getting another set of 2 phones. That's a personal one and one that's a work one. It could sound extreme, but honestly, it's different for everybody. And you really just have to find the thing that's going to set you up for having that intentionality with your kids, because your kids are what matter more. They matter far beyond your business. Like, that's forever lasting type of things that you're pouring into humans that you're raising to be adults and to be parents themselves one day.
You used to have a sign that hung in our house in Arizona that said the most important work you'll ever do is within the 4 walls of your home. And it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
The most important work you do is within the 4 walls of your home. That's true anytime. It doesn't matter what stage of business you're in. It doesn't matter what level of growth your business is experiencing. Your kids matter far beyond that, which is why intentionality as parents became top priority so early on when we realized, oh my gosh, we're raising kids and raising a business. Like, we've
Yeah.
got a lot to figure out here.
And I think one thing we haven't even touched on really in talking about this is it's not just that we work from home and run a business. We also homeschool our kids.
Yeah.
That's another area where we need to be 100% invested in that and not distracted by a phone or not half in, half out or not, and I think one of the things that's been most empowering for us is to realize like we are in the minority. We set out to create a business for ourselves.
Yep.
Which means we chose to do the hard thing. So of course, everything along the way is going to be hard too. Figuring out how to raise kids and build a business, figuring out how to homeschool and all of it together. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but I think that there's equally so much freedom and so much beauty in that. And I know one of the hardest things for me, and it still continues to be hard for me, is to disengage from this 9-to-5 mentality, Monday through Friday, got to show up, got to do this, and to understand that like, it's okay if a day in our life means that everything has to get turned upside down. That's okay. I know that cognitively, it still grinds every gear in my body. But there is so much freedom. I think it's a beautiful thing that our business has given us the opportunity that, we're coming up into a season where kids' activities are spinning up again. And it's like our reality will again look like I work in the office for a handful of hours Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm not in the office at all. I'm out helping lead a nature school with Brody. And then Thursday in the office, Friday, it's like Friday for anybody, right? You're kind of half in, half out. Let's go to the weekend. And that gets to be what business looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not because we're anything special. That's not because we don't work hard. We work incredibly hard.
Yeah.
It's just because we've begun to fully realize that building our own business, while it has its share of challenges and difficulty, also unlocks this freedom side of things. That means all of life gets to ultimately work in concert with our business. The business doesn't dominate anything. It doesn't dominate our life. It doesn't dominate our parenting. It doesn't dominate our marriage. The business is just another leg holding up the stool of all of those things in our lives. And we can't give it more power than it should have.
Right.
Right? Like, I get it. At the end of the day, the business has to provide. The business has to work. Yes. Do we give that much importance to our marriage? Do we give that much importance to the relationships outside of that? Do we give that much importance to our parenting and our relationship with our kids? And that's really what we're talking about here.
And I feel like if John asks that question and there's something inside you that goes, oh my gosh, I don't know if I am. It's okay. For one, it's okay. You're human. But for two, I guarantee you switch that around to where your priorities are getting the most of your attention, everything in business will flow so much smoother and will become so much more successful that much quicker, because you inside as a human, as who you are going to feel in so much more alignment that anything you go to put your hands to next when it comes to work is going to be that much easier. We've seen that to be true. And it was just like, I can't let this part of the business kind of slow right now. I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. But then 2019, it was like John and Erica were Erica and John only in the business, not in our marriage. When we stopped and gave that attention, when we flipped that script around and made that the priority, work stuff became so much easier. And that's because as a husband and wife, we were aligned. We were back to being the center of everything, which is how it should be in a marriage. And then everything we put our hands to in business, it felt fun, it felt easy, it felt smooth. And it's the same exact thing with parenting. And that's because you're aligned inside with the priorities and how they should be and how it truly does matter. And then the off flow of that is just like, it's so much simpler. It's like, wow, I feel in such a better headspace when I'm working. And that's because priorities are in place, and then you can go work in a much freer, guilt-free, shame-free, just worry-free kind of way. And it seems like, I don't know if that could be true. Really got to keep pushing with the business. I promise it's true, simply because we've experienced it ourselves.
Yeah.
And so there's truly no more encouragement we could say than, turn the work off, play with your kids, be with them, let them help cook dinner, make dessert at home, have game nights, have family night, tuck them in. If you got to stay up, stay up. Do what you got to do after you tuck your kids in.
If you're going to be tired the next morning, it's okay. Drink another cup of coffee. It was
Drink
just one
another
night.
cup
You're going
of
to be all
coffee.
right.
Don't make it a pattern. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
not sustainable. But if you know you have to plan for one night this week that's going to have to be a grinder, it's okay. You'll be able to bounce back from that. It would not be healthy to do that consistently. I can say that because we also tried that. It's not sustainable, but you can plan for one busy night, but be fully present with your kids when it's time for it. And don't forget to play and have fun. It doesn't matter how old they get. Again, we started at 2 and 5 when we started a business, and we're at 11 and 15, and we are still wanting to play just as much. Like throw burrito, look it up. It's a really fun game.
Dodgeball mixed with a card game. Pretty cool.
It's really fun.
And burritos.
But those are the things too where it's like, if we're going to leave the office and be done with work and they know we're going to play throw burrito, anything can happen. We can ask for any kind of support with getting some work done because it's fun. And they know that mom and dad are going to fully tune in, fully apply themselves to being present as a family when the work stuff is done.
And there's so many other things that we do we haven't even mentioned. I mean, we have, and we don't always live up to this, but at least it's on our calendar and we're intentional to try and make it happen, that one night a week, the kids cook dinner together. Why? Because we want them to have a great relationship together and learn how to do something together. Plus, I mean, come on, the kids cook dinner and clean. That's awesome.
They also clean up. Like, it wasn't ever said like, hey, when you cook, you clean. Maybe they've just watched. I don't know. Like, that's just what they've picked up on.
We've got time in our calendar where we strive to do one-on-one date nights and we swap kids. And I go with Paisley, you go with Brody, and then we swap. And like, there's so many other things. But the real idea here is like, not that you carbon copy what we do and that's what your life looks like. Every family is different. Every business is different. Every schedule is different. All the dynamics change. We get that. But what I hope you see from this is not just like, okay, well, Erica and John told me how it works for them. That's great. This can't work for me because of this reason or that reason. But that you just understand that bringing your kids into this journey, having them be a part of the process, having them feel a part of the business, communicating with them, setting clear boundaries, celebrating with them, just taking ownership of the season of life that you find yourself in and living that up to the fullest while keeping all of your priorities in the right places. Like, that's the big picture here. And that's the big idea. And I just want to say to anybody who's listening, and maybe you're like, crap, I've really dropped the ball on this so far. Like, this is a reality check moment for me. I've let the business take over. Like, my kids probably feel that. Actually, I know that they feel that. Now I'm feeling guilty. I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to feel empowered instead, right? Like, you can't change what you've done up until this point, but you can change what you do now going forward. And, you know, I guess pastors just impart a lot of wisdom to me in my life. We had another pastor in another season of life. I was talking to him about the frustration of building a business and just some of this guilt that I felt with kids. And he said, you know, I think, and this is when the kids were young, he's like, I think you're in a really cool spot because right now you're in a season of life where an ice cream cone can fix a lot of things. Later in life, you don't learn this stuff, like, that gets a lot harder. Ice cream cone doesn't really do it. And I just want to leave you with that encouragement as well. Like, if you're listening to this, you're like, crap, I really haven't done this right. If you're in a season of life where an intentional conversation, an ice cream cone, a special trip, time one-on-one, any of those things can do a lot to fix and repair, especially if you clearly communicate what you want to do different going forward. And then as you make those different power promises, you hold to them. It's amazing how fast that can change, how quickly you can build trust, how quickly you can turn what maybe is resentment into someone, you know, a child who's bought in and cheering you on and your biggest cheerleader, like we get to experience. So, you know, don't feel guilty in that process. If you haven't done it right up to this point, just make a determination that like this changes going forward. And if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I feel like I do some of these things, but I still struggle with feeling like some guilt in this. Like, we get that. Sometimes we still feel that too. But at the end of the day, if you're doing what you can to include them, you're communicating clearly, you're bringing them on the journey, you're prioritizing your family time, all of these things, like, don't feel guilty. Instead, reframe that and know that like your kids are getting to watch you build something beautiful. They're getting to be inspired by what hard work looks like, as long as you're giving them the opportunity to see that. They're getting to understand what it looks like to persevere and work through something difficult, as long as you're giving them the opportunity to see that. And so build your business. Love your family well. At the end of the day, they're not going to remember the late nights or the mornings where maybe you were a little short because you had to pull an all-nighter to get something done. They're not going to remember the seasons where, you know, work needed a little bit more of you. What they are going to remember are the times you were intentional, the times that, you got them that new Lego set that they got to play with, or, the pillow forts that you built on movie nights after you got done with work, or the trips that you got to bring them on, that you set that perspective in front of them of knowing like, guys, we get to do this because we're all a part of this. That's what they're going to remember. Nobody's ever going to do it right. I'm sure there's things that we do, even though we think like, okay, we've made progress in this area, that, we're just oblivious to or don't see. But at least, I think when you're fighting to do it right, when you've got that intentionality, gosh, it can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy to think you've maybe not received forgiveness from an adult in your life or somebody same age-ish or older. Adults can be hard to forgive, but kids are so quick and easy to forgive. If there's a parent listening that needs to hear that, that's for you, that kids are so quick to forgive, especially when a parent comes to say sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay to tell your kids sorry if you feel like you've missed the mark, or if you're like, darn it, I asked for an hour, I took 2. I'm sorry. Can you remember, mommy's working hard, or I had this to do. Kids are really quick to forgive. And I just want you to feel encouraged with that, because there's nothing that you should carry guilt for when you're doing your best of trying to be the best parent you can be and also trying to build a business. They're going to love you and forgive you for it so quickly. We've experienced that ourselves, and it's something we routinely allow ourselves to do because we're human and we're doing this for the first time, of raising a 15-year-old and 11-year-old while building a business. We've never done this before. It's a new season for our kids, so it's a new season for us. So just remember that. Don't hold what forgiveness looks like from adults. Don't hold that to kids, because they are quick to. They love you and they support you. But also be quick to thank your kids. Just, hey, you did such a good job. And thank you for that input. Thank you for that advice. That's exactly what I needed to hear. When they hear that, that just boosts their confidence. That boosts their reason to support you and to be a part of what you do. And I think that can often get overlooked. But, we'll always tell students, send your client a handwritten thank you note. Do the same for your kids. Color a picture that just says thank you. Mommy loves you. Daddy appreciates your support. Those kinds of things really go a long way with kids. And I think as a parent, those make a print on your heart that you'll never forget. And you'll just be glad that you take the time to do that.
Yeah. Great word.
Yeah.
Great advice. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Camera. If this episode's made a positive impact on you, it would mean the world to us if you could like, subscribe, and share this with someone else in your friend group or in your network, so that hopefully it can make a positive impact on them as well. Thanks a ton for joining us. We'll see you next time.